Hello everyone, this is Pooka and welcome to another game I played on Bad Deck Monday. Going up against a player named Dev934 this game, and we're going to be trying out a new deck. Now this concept has been around for a little bit, but honestly it's not a very good concept. I mean, in theory you can lock someone down, but it really doesn't work too well in practice. But on Bad Deck Monday we're going to go ahead and try it out. Now this is a Watchog Amoonguss Mew Sableye deck. Yeah, that sounds pretty complicated, and that's because it is. And that's usually a sign that things are not very good if they're way too complicated. But the plan is to use Amoonguss, the plasma one, to astonish and bring your opponent down to a very low hand size. Now, astonish, you flip a coin. If heads, you take 3 cards from their hand and shuffle them back into their deck. You choose them randomly. It's kind of like Hooligans, Jim, and Cass. But once you do that, you go ahead and use Watchog's attack Watchog to rearrange your opponent's top 5 cards. So right off the bat here, I get the Amoonguss, but my opponent is at 1 card. So I think there's a decent chance that he just has a bad hand. And we're going to take our chances here. Skyla for the level ball. Grab a Watchog, and we can Watchog. That is one of the weirdest attack names ever. But Watchog, we're going to use Mew EX because he can use anything on the field. And we're going to go ahead and use Watchog and look at the top 5 cards of my opponent's deck. And we're going to say, okay, now we can see what he's going to draw for the next 5 turns. So I'm going to give him cards that really don't allow him to set up. Because I'm assuming his 1 card is not a supporter. If it is, well, this all goes out the window. But we can see here, he's going to draw a Sableye, and then a Laser, and then a DCE. Now, I give him the DCE because I have an Enhanced Hammer in the discard pile. And next turn, I'll just Skyla for a Sableye, Junk Hunt for the Enhanced Hammer, and then make sure that, he just doesn't get energy in play. And we should be okay, and look at that. The deck, this is the first time this deck has ever really worked properly for me. This should be interesting, that's for sure. So, now we know for the next 4 turns, he really doesn't have anything coming. And before he draws his Skyla, what I'm going to do is just use Watchog again, and try to make sure that he just never draws anything the rest of the game. And eventually we'll kind of wear him down slowly. It's not a fun deck, it's not, a particularly powerful deck, but it gets the job done if you let it. If your opponent just is caught without a supporter 1 turn, this can happen and you can just go ahead and win. So this turn he does get the Laser. It's pretty annoying, but there are worse things in the world, I suppose. Go ahead with the Crushing Hammer and get a Heads. This deck does play plenty of switches, so I should be able to draw one and get out of the Sleep and Poison here. The reason I gave him a Laser as opposed to an Energy is just because, well, you don't want to let him get too much energy in play. If he starts attacking, this deck honestly isn't that good once they start to attack. I mean, you don't really do much direct damage. You are just trying to lock your opponent down, make sure they don't do anything, and that kind of stuff. And alright, so I do get a switch, but I did not get an energy to use Junk Hunt or Retreat and then Junk Hunt, so this turned out pretty poorly for me. But at the very least, I can just switch into the old Sableye here. And then we can play a Hammer, we can play a Laser, and that's really how this deck gets the job done. You use Laser to poison your opponent, to go ahead and, add up some passive damage, and then in the meantime, you just sit there, you use Junk Hunt, you use Watchog, you use Astonish, you make sure they just don't have any options for the rest of the game. So here he is drawn. That should have been the turn where he drew the double colorless energy. So kind of interesting that he just didn't play that there. I'm not sure. And now we're definitely going to need to Junk Hunt. We have 1 more turn because we know the next card, of course, is a Dark Energy as well. So you just have to remember with this deck what your opponent's top 5 cards are. If you ever screw that up, then you could break the lock and you could lose. But once they are locked in place, they can't do anything. It's a pretty sweet deck. You get a lot of control. We don't see control decks be very successful in today's format, so this would be cool if this deck were viable. I don't know if it is or not, but it would be pretty cool if it were. So here we're going to junk hunt for another laser and that enhanced hammer because I do know he has that DC in hand. And this next turn, I'm going to have to use Watchog again, rearrange his top 5 cards, because I know the next card is a Skyla. Now even if, I might even let him draw the Skyla, because what does that get you? It'll probably get you a supporter, and then I'll just use Amoonguss' Astonish and shuffle it back in. That's an option, but I think it's better to just use Watchog and rearrange the top 5 cards to make sure he just doesn't get a supporter altogether. So here we can just go ahead and retreat into Mew, and this is probably the most annoying deck in the world to face, that's for sure. I'm going to go ahead, I think we can Crushing Hammer, just try to discard the Dark off there. Nope, but now I can just play a laser. He does have that Keldeo. I'm surprised he didn't rush in with that Keldeo. I guess he just didn't want the Keldeo to get poisoned. And alright, we can Watchog. And oh boy, my opponent is not getting anything anytime soon. 2 Dark Claws, then a Sableye, and then I'll give him a Skyla. And then, after 3 turns, we'll just go ahead and Watchog again, because he's going to draw Skyla. So basically, I just go laser, hammer, and then junk hunt, and then when they're going to draw something on the following turn, we just use Watchog again. So here he does drop the DCE. We have the enhanced hammer waiting for that. And this is beautiful. This is the power of this deck if it can ever get set up. You can see there's just nothing my opponent can really do here. Gonna junk hunt. I can grab another laser and a hammer. This is basically a more annoying version of a Sableye Crushing Hammer laser deck. That's really all there is to it. Instead of using Darkrai, you use Watchog to disrupt your opponent. It does not have the offensive capabilities at all that a Darkrai deck would have, but it's still, it's still pretty powerful if your opponent just gets caught without a supporter. That's really all there is to it. And we're going to laser the Keldeo. And go ahead, and I can actually Night Spear now. There's really not anything I need. I'm going to go ahead and play the Crushing Hammer, because why not? Just discard all the energy off my opponent's field. So, now we can Night Spear. And we're going to use his attacks against him. Oh, that's mean. But, that's just what Mew can do. It's a versatile card, like the ability says. And we're just going to copy everything. This game isn't actually very exciting. I just wanted to show off what this deck could actually do if things go well. So now my opponent has drawn both Dark Claws and the Sableye, and I need to Watchog this turn to make sure he doesn't draw that Skyla. That's got to be my plan of attack here. I can actually Watchog for a knockout, thanks to the wonders of Hypnotoxic Laser. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Versatile for the Watchog. And we can see he's starting to build up useful cards in his top 5. The Energy Switch is not going to be useful. The Dark Patch probably won't be useful because I'm going to knock out the Sableye next turn, I would think. And then he won't have anywhere to even Dark Patch to. But then, eventually what can happen with these kinds of decks is that they just build up supporters in the top 5 cards. And you can't really prevent it. So that's kind of annoying. When Getsis is out in this deck, it might have a little more power because you can, it's not only a way to rearrange their top 5 by making them shuffle in items, but it's just a way to get rid of their items too and make the lock a lot simpler. So it could be cool in the future. With Getsis, we'll see. But here, again, I know my opponent has absolutely no options. And it's cool knowing exactly what your opponent has. Knowing that your opponent cannot do anything. And he draws, and we know that one's the Dark Patch. So his hand right now is an Energy Switch, a Dark Patch, and then an unnamed card that I haven't seen at all. It was from the first turn of the game that I never really figured out what it was. He says GG, I guess. It's technically not over yet, but it's pretty darn over at this point. Considering I'm going to laser and then Watchog to make sure that he just doesn't have anything. I could have Night Speared, I suppose, but then he gets a Skyla. He'll survive because of the resistance on Mew. He does have 60 damage on him, I believe. So with a laser and then a Night Spear, I would do 30 plus 70. Yeah, that wouldn't be enough. So we need to Watchog this turn just to make completely sure that I'm going to win. And there we go. Laser, poison him, and okay. He has 120 hit points left, so I would be 20 short if I decided to use Night Spear. So we don't want to do that. We want to use the game winner, the breadwinner, Watchog. I really cannot believe that's what the attack is named. Anyway, yeah, we're just going to give him a Dark Energy, and there we go. So we know that he can't do anything. And this is just the awesomeness that is the Watchlock deck. It can be pretty fun. It can be pretty annoying when you just get steamrolled by an attacker. But when everything works, it's a beautiful work of art. Let's say that. So hope you guys enjoyed this crazy deck. This really brings me back to the old days with the Mewlock deck all those years ago. It's not quite as strong as that deck was, but if you can catch your opponent with a bad hand, you can really lock them for the rest of the game. So thanks guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed. We'll have some more videos soon. I am Pooka here from the Top Cut, and we'll see you next time.